नमस्ते जी नमस्ते. So let us understand कि क्या हुआ है आज वाली judgment में. I am going to be analyzing portion P, that is part P of the judgment. The judgment's link is in the description. First and foremost, two articles that you're going to remember for your law entrance. That's 133 and 142. If you're a common layman watching this, obviously then don't. Three acts जो कि अंदर से बाहर लेके गए हम इसके अंदर CPC evidence, constitution, and the core concept was it wasn't that a temple existed. It wasn't about anybody's faith and belief. It was about title. You must remember, legally, we were fighting, as in not we, Hindus and Muslims were fighting over title. And then one fun fact that you have to see is the Limitation Act, section 65, and have to see adverse possession. Fun fact, if in your property, in India, immovable property, somebody comes in and stays there for around 12 years and you don't dispute it ever, you just let them sit and there is no FIR on your end and you never approach the court, the title belongs to them as per the doctrine of laches also. And Limitation Act क्या होती है, 12 साल का उन्होंने टाइम दे रखा कि भाई 12 साल तक भी अगर सो रहे हो 13वें साल में आओगे तो हम आपकी मदद नहीं कर पाएंगे. And in case of a government property is 30 odd years, the limitation period that is. Now keeping that in mind, let us start. So I have bifurcated this into sections. So this is portion number 1, this is 2, and then simultaneously 7. Then there is one addendum which basically we'll get to in the next video, but addendum अभी हमने बात नहीं करनी है. अभी हम यहाँ पे देखेंगे यहाँ पे हुआ क्या है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने टाइटल कैसे डिसाइड किया, because this is primarily a title suit in a civil appeal. Now civil appeals सुप्रीम कोर्ट कहाँ पे jurisdiction आती है? That's 133. Again for LLM and CLAT and AILET examinations, क्योंकि यही बातें एग्जामिनर के सामने भी आएंगी तो वो भी आपसे वही पूछेगा. Anyway, so Supreme Court said preponderance of probability. So if you go through the judgment, even if you brush through it, you're going to find this plaster of Paris. No, it's preponderance of probabilities. That what is preponderance? It's just a larger number. So probability ज़्यादा है अगर मैं हिंदी में translate करूँ. Now ASI, according to ASI, the Supreme Court said कि 12th century AD से आपके not AD 12th century से लेके हिंदू religious origin का एक structure तो वहाँ पे था. On that side, ये बात तो तय हो गई thanks to ASI. On which the mosque was built, this is also confirmed thanks to excavations and everything. Now, when we go through this judgment, try to understand what must have been playing in the judge's mind and what exactly is this preponderance of probability when you factor it all in. So then on which the mosque was built, then Supreme Court said, but wait, hang on. ये तो हमने बोल दिया कि ASI के एक हिंदू रिलीजियस ओरिजिन स्ट्रक्चर था, मंदिर था या नहीं हमें मालूम नहीं है. और स्पेसिफिकली वही वाला मंदिर था, राम जी का मंदिर था. सॉरी कैन नॉट से. व्हाई वाज दिस स्ट्रक्चर डिस्ट्रॉयड, एंड वाज इट स्पेसिफिकली डिस्ट्रॉयड फॉर द पर्पसेस ऑफ अ मॉस्क or was it destroyed for something else? So that's a caveat. So the ASI report does not go into those details. All it says is that there was one Hindu religious origin structure on which the mosque was built. Then the Supreme Court questioned that what happened between 12th to the 16th century. So Babur came and built this mosque and everything there, but what happened for these 4 odd centuries? Well, that was one question. Then the Supreme Court, the tone that the judgment starts to take is that finding of title, we cannot really, find the title from an ASI report, because ASI report तो ये बताएगी कि हाँ जी वहाँ पे हिंदू रिलीजियस ओरिजिन स्ट्रक्चर था. बट हम किसके ऊपर लगे पड़े, हमने जो लड़ाई करी हुई है दैट्स ओवर टाइटल. एज टू हु डज दिस लैंड, द टाइटल ऑफ द लैंड बिलोंग्स टू, एज ए नेम, जो कि जी मेरा है या तुम्हारा है. तभी प्रॉपर्टी लॉ में इंडिया में कहते हैं कब्जा बहुत ज़रूरी है. कागज़ तो ठीक है जो हैं सो हैं, बट कब्जा, इसीलिए कब्जे के चक्कर में पोजेशन से टाइटल मिलता है. नाउ तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेड सॉरी, ASI फाइंडिंग तो जो है सो है, दैट्स ऑल राइट. बट देन सो सी दिस इज basically how the judge's mind works is अब ASI वालों ने भी बोल दिया, so that's one probability. Then ऐसे preponderance of probabilities बढ़ती चली जाएंगी. Then finding of title आ गया. फिर Supreme Court went into some travelers records, I think 2, and with some very weird to pronounce names, so that's why I'm not taking the names. If you can go to page number 904, 905, judgment में आपको मिल जाएंगे. They said हाँ जी faith and belief of Hindus were there as per the travelers record, but then Supreme Court was very cautious about not to give in to bias, legend, lore of the traveler record, because again, as per the traveler record and as per the faith and belief of Hindu devotees there, can a title be decided? No. Sorry, cannot be decided. Now, title can only be decided based on evidence which survives in a cross examination in a court. अच्छा, फिर हम आते हैं, despite the structure the worship continued. This is part 3 now, sorry, part 2 now. Despite the structure being there, this is again evidence which has survived, which is perfectly fine. So worship होगी, continue हो रही है. This evidence को Supreme Court ने मान लिया कि despite the structure the worship has been going on, and the Islamic structure that was raised on the site, it did not shake the food and beverage. Well, thank God you're awake. Faith and belief of the devotees. So this is again preponderance of probability एक और बढ़ गई. See how it works कि आपने अलग अलग factors देने हैं and then you can get the judges in your favor. Then 1856 और 1857 में riots हुए. The British wall, again faith and belief again reigned supreme. It still did not stop. So those guys, those devotees, वो उतने पहले से वो लगे ही रहे. ठीक है भाई, बिल्डिंग खड़ी हुई है, इस्लामिक स्ट्रक्चर है, we don't care, we'll still worship, the right to worship and express. और इसका सब evidence जो कि ट्रायल स्टेज से चलता आ रहा है, the Supreme Court said, well, survives the scrutiny of our statutes. Then we are continuing with portion 2. It's अच्छा, थोड़ा सा evidence क्या क्या था. कार्तिक पूर्णिमा होती थी, कोई रामनवमी हुई या कुछ हुआ, major occasions पे large number of people used to come and visit the, guess what, the disputed site. Not only the outer courtyard but that disputed site जिसके ऊपर सारा का सारी जो लड़ाई जो चल रही है. And there was evidence that namaz also was never stopped. ऐसा नहीं था कि ये लोग आ रहे थे and then the Muslim side used to vanish. No, the namaz never stopped. Or there is evidence that the Muslims never let go of the possession. They always had possession. So in the 1949 तब तक तो नमाज चल रही थी, but the last नमाज was in 1949. So पहले 1949 के अंदर फ्राइडे नमाज ही हो पा रही थी, thanks to the heightened situation, thanks to riots upon riots, and with the help of police, only Friday namaz was being conducted. But there is evidence on record, and Supreme Court admitted it, that it survives the scrutiny of the court, that namaz was never stopped and Muslims never let go of their possession. Now we come to the most critical portion of, or the most critical portion of this judgment, the logic, the ratio, whatever. You can call it whatever. In fact, this is the one sentence that is the core crux of all these details, is adverse possession. You remember what I said of limitation? Is never now proved beyond a reasonable doubt, या preponderance of probability नहीं आई इसकी, that the Waqf board failed to prove that they have exclusive adverse possession. Why? Because these guys, thanks to their faith and belief, they kept on expressing their right to worship at the site and evidence is there. Does not mean that the namaz was not happening, does not mean that the Muslims let go of the possession. No. It just means कि इनके पास पूरा का पूरा they failed to prove. अब था नहीं था, we really don't know. But as per the Supreme Court, they said no, so you failed to prove that you had exclusive adverse possession of the inner courtyard. आउटर कोर्टयार्ड में तो एक्सक्लूसिव हिंदूज ने प्रूव करा लिया दैट हमारा ही पोजेशन था. अब आउटर इनर का डायग्राम अगर आपने देखना हो तो वो आर्टिकल पड़ा हुआ है डिस्क्रिप्शन में, और जस्टिस एस.यू. खान के ऊपर जस्टिस एस.यू. खान की जजमेंट के ऊपर मैंने भी एक वीडियो बनाया था. जस्ट लिंक टू द डिस्क्रिप्शन इफ यू वांट टू सी ऑल द डायग्राम्स ऑफ इनर एंड आउटर कोर्टयार्ड्स, बट वी आर नॉट गेटिंग टू दैट. सो एक्सक्लूसिव पोजेशन ऑफ द आउटर कोर्टयार्ड प्रूव्ड बाय हिंदूज. इनर कोर्टयार्ड की अगर एक्सक्लूसिव पोजेशन मुस्लिम्स प्रूव करा देते तो मस्जिद वहीं पे रहती या मस्जिद बनती अभी इस टाइम पे. अब आज के डेट में तो वील जस्ट गेट टू द फाइनल डिसीजन एंड देन द लैंड, दैट लैंड वुड हैव बीन हैंडेड ओवर to the Muslims, but it has always been in dispute. So due to those devotees that have been worshipping continuously since the 16th century, 17th, 18th, 19th, and they have been expressing their right to worship by actions, by overt actions at that place, the Muslims have failed to prove that they had exclusive possession of the inner courtyard. So therefore, but having said all of that, Muslims never abandoned that site. No matter what hell came or high water came, they never abandoned the site. Hindus, they clearly proved possessory title of the outer courtyard. Inner mein adverse possession पूरा properly नहीं prove. Then we come to part 4, where the Supreme Court took up the High Court's judgment, because remember, we are in an appeal. So what are we appealing? We are appealing the High Court judgment. So High Court said 3 parts में आप इसको land को divide कर दीजिए and सब खुश रहिए, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. So Mr. Parasaran argued that how? Now, always remember, in a court of law, you're praying for something, you're praying for a relief. And let us say that you're praying, let us just take a hypothetical example. You as a student pray to God for good marks, and instead he just gives you a toy or something कि इससे खुश रहे. तो वो उन्होंने पूछा कि how, when did we ask you to bifurcate this land? You have no power, the High Court has no power, only the Supreme Court does to do this under 142. So for this year's law exams, 2020, article number 142 becomes extremely crucial. And for LLM and judicial level examinations, read commentary on 142. Now, did we ask for a suit for partition? It was a suit for title, boss. So either you decide the title or you don't decide the title, but it was never a suit for partition. So therefore, how could you grant relief? Only the Supreme Court can under 142. And since granting relief, or that relief was never a subject matter of the suit, how could you grant it again? So Order 7, Rule 7 CPC for judiciary aspirants. Order 7, Rule 7 जरा एक बार पढ़ लीजिएगा. Order 7, Rule 7 का क्या crux है? क्या चाहते हो? Clearly बताओ. Clearly. Be very specific. What relief do you want? Specifically stated. This is what Order 7, Rule 7 of CPC says. So since यहाँ पे तो हम कर ही नहीं रहे काम, हम तो टाइटल की बात कर रहे थे, आप पार्टीशन कर दिए हैं. So how can we follow the High Court order? So Supreme Court said, yes, you guys are correct. Only we do have these powers. Now, moving on, the Supreme Court found another fallacy with the High Court judgment was Suit 3 and Suit 4. The High Court of Lucknow decided that the Nirmohi Akhara and the Sunni Waqf Board were limitation barred, and then in Suit 5 they actually granted relief to Suit 3 and Suit 4, as in the plaintiffs and the guys that were involved in Suit 3 and Suit 4. First they said that this is limitation barred, and then they went on to give relief. And when the Supreme Court was like, what exactly are you trying to do? So now, again, part 5, we come to title cannot give you, or rather, sorry, F&B, food and beverage, or faith and belief. Faith and belief cannot give you title, only evidence can. Moving, again, repeating this point. Hindus, as per the Supreme Court, proved that they had exclusive possession of the outer courtyard. Muslims, they could not, as in the Supreme Court said that they could not, before 1857, could not prove exclusive title, exclusive possessory title to the inner courtyard. So 16th से 18th century के अंदर exclusive वो यहाँ पे नहीं हो पाए. But अब ये तो कहें कि यार ये तो बहुत. Supreme Court also noted that the wrongdoing that was done on the part of the Muslims, that was, they were wrongly deprived of a mosque on December 1949, where literally they were thrown out, and then 6 दिसंबर 1992 को वो जो बाबरी मस्जिद डिमोलिशन हुई, उसमें वो मॉस्क भी तोड़ दी, जो स्ट्रक्चर था वो भी तोड़ दिया. पहले तो उनको बाहर भगा दिया और फिर वो तोड़ भी दिया. ये तो बदतमीजी की बात हुई ना, मतलब ये क्या चल रहा है. एंड दैट मॉस्क वाज बिल्ट 450 years ago. So again, Supreme Court said कि नहीं ये तो we have to give them justice. And Supreme Court said 1500 स्क्वायर यार्ड्स को डिवाइड करें, इतना सा तो लैंड है, अब इसको क्या ही हम डिवाइड करेंगे. सो as per our powers under 142, justice, not only justice be done, it must also seem to be done. We will grant 5 acres of land to Muslims to rebuild a mosque, and that too एक बहुत अच्छा सा शब्द लिया हुआ है उन्होंने, prominent place in Ayodhya. ये नहीं कि कोई outskirts पे कुछ भी नहीं, a prominent place in Ayodhya. Just get to that. And Nirmohi Akhada, they said it was, you have been time barred, thanks to time barred by the Limitation Act, that your case is not there. But since you have been involved so much for over so many years in this case, we will give you a role in the management. But again, now you can say, boss, अभी तो आप ये कह रहे थे कि जो relief मांगा नहीं वो कैसे दे देंगे? Under the 142. And this, right now it is an uncoded legal maxim only, that not only justice be done, it must also seem to be done. And where was this LLM ka question? R versus Sussex justices. often asked in LLM entrance exams, and now this is again popped up, so again it will be asked. So within 3 months, अब Supreme Court ने finally decision क्या किया part 7 में, that within 3 months we're going to go for under section 6 and 7 of the Ayodhya Act. The central government will establish a trust के अंदर as per article 142 मेरी power है, as in मेरी नहीं, Supreme Court की obviously, निर्मोही अखाड़ा वालों को उस ट्रस्ट में मैनेजमेंट का रोल दिया जाए जितना भी सेंट्रल सरकार सही समझे, and either the central sarkar or the state sarkar give 5 acres of land to the Waqf board to build a mosque. Simple, isn't it? So the injustice that was done to the Muslims has been addressed. The preponderance of probability has been taken care of. The title has been decided. The exclusive adverse possession, and couple it with the Limitation Act, couple it with CPC, couple it with evidence, couple it with Constitution. You see how comprehensive law is, and then people these days think that they can go to Indian Qanun and keep on searching articles and God knows what not. Acha, a critical thing, that Nirmohi Akhada is not a she-bait of Lord Ram. So a DT is a juristic person, that's what they've declared, but Nirmohi Akhada in this case is not a she-bait, as in the people or the person who manages the DT or who can represent them in their own capacity. Next, so this was, I think, a 900-page odd judgment, 929 pages if I'm not mistaken. There's an addendum. Addendum was written by one of the judges. It's not known who basically wrote that. So according to the faith and belief of the Hindus, he basically took up Guru Nanak Ji's visits to Ayodhya, different scriptures, different scriptural mentions, different other dharmic texts that are available, and tried to basically, you can say, give an opinion or यहाँ पे कि that birthplace was at that very disputed site, and how he agrees that it is actually the case. That's a 116-page document at the end of the judgment. We'll discuss that in a video, maybe tomorrow or day after. So hopefully the core crux of the judgment is clear. It was possession, not exactly very clearly proved by the Waqf board. And now think about what would have happened had they proved this. Had these people not been continuing to worship and अपना right to worship express करा रहे हैं वो वहाँ पे site पे, अगर ये लोग कहीं रुक जाते 200, 300, 400 साल, तो it was possession में clearly ये लोग proof करा लेते. ठीक है जी, तो hopefully it is clear, and the injustice to the Muslims has been taken note of by the Supreme Court, and that is why the Supreme Court is supreme. I believe it is a good judgment. Hopefully you've understood it. If you have, well then good for you. All right, take care. Bye bye.